Hello, church family. I pray that this video finds you well. As you know, God brought Rob and the Moser family to the Greeley area this summer. We're able to spend a lot of time together and hammer through a vision about what we feel like God is burdening us individually and collectively to plant a church in Greeley. One of the questions is, what is the mission of the church? What is the values of the church? What is the strategy of the church? And what are the measures of the church? Those four categories tried to help give birth to a mission proper, what we sensed that God was asking to do in us, and then by extension through us in the city of Greeley. God began to make it clear that he was up to more than we thought he was, quite frankly. As we were praying and thinking and processing around one church and one vision, God began to make it clear that God was up to birthing two distinct visions and two distinct expressions of his church, all for the sake of glorifying him and bringing people into the kingdom of his beloved son in Greeley. We're just trusting God, quite frankly, in all of that, trusting that God is still at work shaping his church. It's his church, ultimately. It's not our church, and trusting that he's going to continue to burden different people, different ways, all for the same purpose, which is to glorify his name and to proclaim the gospel to people that need him.
Our family has been on a journey these past few months, 6-8 months, as we have moved from church planting in Mexico to now church planting in Greeley, Colorado. And that has been quite an interesting journey in the midst of COVID and everything else that you guys have been going through as well. And so that has been difficult, but at the same time, as we were praying, God, what would you have us do as we came out of Mexico, and we were praying, God, where would you have us go? We began to see there was a 40% Hispanic population here. And so our hearts were just beginning to grow and enlarge with this idea that maybe God, coming out of Mexico, would use us to minister to the poorer, more Hispanic side of town. God actually put us on the east side of town. We weren't even searching for it, but ultimately God put our family in a house on the utter east side of Greeley. And already we have been ministering and making, seeking to make disciples and doing evangelism there with a lot of cool stuff that's happening. We were envisioning a church in Greeley together. We were in church, with Jason and Pat and Josh. As we did that, we realized that God may want to do more in Greeley and express more in Greeley than we were even envisioning. That maybe God would want to birth two visions, one to the more east, poor Hispanic side of town, and one that's more central west side of town. But in the midst of that, we are also sad, and we are. It is hard to change horses in midstream. But we're just going to trust the Lord in this, and we know that He is good. Our family is excited. We are excited to launch into what God has put on our hearts. Please ask questions. We'd love to tell you more about what God is doing on our hearts, and if you sense calling in any way, we'd love to just explore that with you. I know Jason would as well, and Pat and Josh and all of us, and Dan and all of Windsor Church and the leadership, and so just really encouraged in general about the peace that seems to be settling over this from Crossway, Windsor, as well as the Greeley Church plant.
Yes and amen. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. Inevitably, one of the questions that come out of this is like, so what does that mean for what we thought was going to take place? As many as you know, this heartbeat for Greeley is not a new thing. We still plan and see on the horizon planting in Easter of this year, a short 3 months from now, leap from the steady shoulders of Windsor Church, and by God's grace plant a new church, a new expression of a local church in Greeley, Colorado. And as you're sitting there watching this video and listening to this update, if you have interest, as Rob mentioned earlier, to talk about what that might look like for you, either one of us would love to process that with you. For us specifically, just tune your attention to 3 preview services that we're planning on having: the 3rd Friday in January, the 3rd Friday in February, and the 3rd Friday in March. And then invite you to pray alongside us as we continue to try to seek the Lord and continue to ask the question, what are you up to, and how would you have us to respond? And by God's grace, He's going to lead and make the path clear. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
All right.